Hi, this is Shahed, and thank you for watching UCS Director training. This is the first session that I'm going to cover, just the overview. Before I start the first session, I'm going to talk a bit about myself. I'm a Bangladeshi working in USA, East Coast. I'm temporarily working in Melbourne, Australia, and this recording is in Melbourne. I work as a solution architect in the company Cisco Systems. Part of my job is to travel to customers' sites, work with them, understand their product, Cisco products, of course, and then help them adopt that technology. I started my career as an infrastructure consultant on Active Directory, Exchange, Citrix, VMware, and many other before joining Cisco. And after joining Cisco, my first technology that I worked was UCS, Unified Computing Systems, Nexus switches, Intercloud Fabric, UCS Director. My aim of these sessions was to share my experience that I went through, and also the knowledge of the product to all the people in the field. So I thought that might be useful. By no means I'm a professional trainer, but I do train Cisco engineers internally, especially on UCS Director. Back in my childhood, I was a Air Force pilot, and I was a qualified flying instructor then. So I used to teach the new entry in Air Force how to fly a plane. I think my obsession to teaching came from there. That gives huge satisfaction. You'll find me on LinkedIn, Shahed Jalal, last name Jalal, and also YouTube channel is Shahed's Tech Talk. If you search Google, you should find that pretty easily. Now, what's UCS Director? Those who are familiar with UCS, Unified Computing System, please don't confuse with UCS and UCS Director. There is no direct relation to UCS and UCS Director. UCS is one of your infrastructure management services that can be automated by UCS Director, but that's just one. You can do many other, like Nexus, ACI, F5, anything you name on the data center. You can talk in the language of UCS Director, you can automate them. And what is the language? We'll cover later. Ideally, I would think the name should be Cisco Infrastructure Orchestration Software or something along that line. But this is UCS Director, and let's go with that. Why you suddenly need UCS Director? I think one of the buzzwords like automation, cloud computing, that's kind of in the market. Everybody wants to go into the cloud, everybody wants to automate everything. And UCS Director is one of the software from Cisco that helps you achieve that. Now, as I said, this is a interconnected world, so they want instantaneous service delivery. When in the early days, you need a server, you probably order it, it comes to your data center, you patch it, rack it, and then provision. Those days are gone. Now the VMware has taken over. You can deliver VMs, but the expectation is even higher now. You don't want to wait for a VM admin to go and do these things. You would like to do it instantaneously. I want it, I get it. That comes the faster service delivery, of course, and IT has to do more with less. And adding people, like in the old days, the more people you add for the delivery, the decrease the bottom line. So the idea is to opposite, reduce the people, so reduce the cost and increase the bottom line. How does UCSD help there? It does help a lot. It streamlines the provisioning and management of data center infrastructure services. That's the big thing. And it does within minutes, that's for sure. The task which could take weeks, if not months, it can be done in minutes. And it also reduces the complexity a lot. say if you have got 3 teams and you have to talk to them, is your change request is raised, you go from team to team. Now, in one place, you just click it and everything is done. Of course, all these 3 teams or whatever the teams require, they have to work together to make this, provisioning. And it's not Cisco about you're talking, it's multi-vendor support. So it could be NetApp, it could be EMC. And of course, Cisco is probably integrates a lot better. Now, it enables IT to be agile, and consistent service is a key word. Like if 3 people does the same thing, there may be chance, kind of not exactly the same. But once you do through the UCS Director or some software like this, then you kind of get the consistency. Whatever you do, every time the same thing. And of course, it kind of helps IT to align better with the strategic and business requirements of the business. Now, next slide is probably very important. Why does this UCS Director sits in the data center? You have to visualize that there are many components in the data center. Start from the bottom left-hand side, which is UCS Manager or UCS Central. Those who are new to UCS, Unified Computing System, it's a kind of Blade server and the rack server from Cisco. It has an open API. That's kind of UCS Manager manages one domain, which consists of, I think, maximum 20 chassis, 160 blades, and also 2 fabric interconnects, which is kind of, top switches having the management component. So that's UCS Manager. UCS Central is a manager of managers. If you have like 20 UCS managers, so you'd like to manage centrally. So that's where UCS Central comes in. It's a VM. So UCS Director can talk to anyone, either UCS Manager or UCS Central. Whatever UCS Central wants to do, you can automate them through the UCS Director, and same for UCS Manager. Now, it could be a HP blade if they have got, some kind of API or any other kind of interface, then UCS Director can talk. But again, it's probably limited, but UCS Manager, the functions are huge. And pretty much you can do everything, like, not everything, but most of the stuff from your UCS Director. Next box is for networking piece. Like here it says Epic, VAX, but I wouldn't probably concentrate on those 2. ACI is a big SDN concept from Cisco, and VAX is container, virtual container. So, or anything else on the networking piece, like having an API, UCS Director can talk, it can automate that. And also then comes heterogeneous or other infrastructure devices like your EMC, like your NetApp, F5, firewall. So UCS Director sits on top of all those devices and systems and automate them. Maybe the way it works, you do the first task for the UCS Manager, second one maybe from something on the NetApp, third one maybe from the networking. So it depends on your requirement. So you need to tell UCS Director admin that this is what I do in a day-to-day life, and how do we automate this? On top of that, there is a Prime Service Catalog from Cisco. Again, there is a northbound API for UCS Director. So Prime Service Catalog is a Cisco product, so it have the capacity to publish the catalogs a lot better than UCS Director. UCS Director has got a built-in capability of catalog publishing, and again, catalog is probably part of the cloud, delivery. One of the components you need to deliver your products through the catalog. UCS Director does it, but Prime Service Catalog does it better. You could have your service now also, hooked into the UCS Director through northbound API. So this is just another product from Cisco. Now, what value UCS Director brings here? As you can see on the left side, the diagram of the orchestrator, orchestra, UCS Director kind of controls all these your infrastructure management devices. Now they can come in blocks, kind of a reference architecture or a product like a vBlock or reference architecture like FlexPod, VSPlex, or maybe any other your CVD. It really doesn't matter like it is a FlexPod or a vBlock. UCS Director manages the devices separately. So if it is kind of tested and it's a reference architecture like FlexPod, it's easier. Probably that all the components works. But if in a data center it's not a FlexPod or vBlock, it still does the same thing. It manages your UCS, manages your switches, manages your storage devices, firewall. So anything like compute, network, storage, and virtualization, VMware or Hyper-V. It does replace the manual management of each layer, and which is very important. Like I try to give an example of boot from SAN. I come from UCS background, and I have a lot of customer experience, kind of making this work. If it is a silo environment, like if it's boot from SAN, those who have worked, like that you have to do your UCS part, you have to do your SAN switch part, Nexus or MDS, and that's a storage team. And then you have to do your storage array part, like your EMC or NetApp. Maybe there are 3 admins, 3 teams involved, and then there are 4 teams for VMware. So you have to kind of work with all 4 teams. Now, if you just sit next to one another, you could probably finish it by half an hour, maybe an hour. You know what to do, just click, click, click. But that never happens, right? So once the service request is made by customer or your business user, it comes to one team. You've done, they go to the next one, and next one, and next one, and sometimes you have to wait for the other team to complete your job. UCS Director removes all this silo and make it one team. So you sit together, you define what you want to do, which is the task for which team, and then you kind of stitch together. And in between you can put approvals, email, notification, and those kind of stuff. Once you have done this job, it's just a matter of click, the entire thing is done within minutes. As I said, like in the next line, that it's kind of manage the resources as a single team across physical and virtual resources. So it can deploy a UCS Blade, or you can deploy a VMware VM. And then you leave the team to do more important stuff rather than repetitive jobs. So one thing they emphasize that physical infrastructure is important. A lot of the apps, you can see that they kind of depend on physical infrastructure, and UCS Director does a good job in managing and provisioning, automating that. So it's a centralized management console based on role-based access. And I'm going to go on the next slide on that. And then it manages, as I said before, like your storage, network, compute, and also OS and virtualization machines. Plus, firewall, and also your load balancer. It has roles like end users, who are the business users, like who will consume the resources. So someone from the accounting team or dev team, they just click a button and everything is done for them. But IT admin sitting on the remote side or in the corner, probably he does all the magic for him. So it's given to him as a catalog. He just consumes it. You could have an option to charge him or show him how much it will cost him, so that the concept of free resources is not there. So there's nothing free. Each VM consumes, so you could put a charge on that. Okay, that much you would, like Amazon AWS services, and he could see that, okay, how much it will cost him to use this resource for next 3 months. Then IT operations, of course, they can monitor everything is going good end to end. And of course, what makes it very powerful is an open API for integration. So you could have another kind of management device, like say for iWorkflow, is not in the UCS Director, and it's not supported. It's not out of the box. So you have an open API. So you could make a integration with that. And you could, if you have a developer in-house, you could use them, or if you have, I think you need the two skill set. One is Java, and you have JavaScript. If you know that, you could give them task and make that happen. So next is you can see there are lots of vendors that can be managed by UCS Director. That's pretty much says that whoever can talk in my language, I'm going to automate it. And there are three things like policy manager, resource pool, consumption cost model. These are the features in the UCS Director. We'll see that how that works in the later classes. Now, how does it work? On the right side is a very nice and clean picture of what is an orchestration. So you have a task. I won't go into what is written in this task specifically. As I mentioned, the boot from San Juan, the first one, probably the task is, okay, get an approval. It sends an email to someone, he approves it, and then the next one starts. Before he approves, nothing works. And the next one may be, okay, make a UCS service profile from a template that you have already made. So it makes a service profile, and then goes for the next one is had a blade, bring a blade, and then apply onto the blade. And maybe the next one, maybe go to the storage, make a zoning. And whatever you configured on the UCS service profile, so you have seen that there is your WWPN number you created during the service profile creation. That WWPN number will be pulled by the zoning task. So zoning task knows that this is the WWPN number which was just created by the previous task. I'm going to use it for zoning for the next task. That's input, one of the input, and then output goes to the next one. So don't be worried if you don't understand these things right now. So once I go into the demonstration, you'll probably see that very clearly, and it's very simple. So tasks are again pre-validated works. These are done by Cisco itself, and they kind of give it to you that okay, it is there, just drag and drop, and there you go. And if it is not there, even you can do that. These are based on JavaScript, so you can make your script and
it's
you can
12 o'clock.
That's 12 o'clock in Melbourne. And then you can put that into service catalogs. Catalogs, again, I kind of mentioned before. I won't go into details right now, just kind of overview session. No other vendors offers this capability. I'm not sure about that. And dynamic, of course, they keep the business moving. Application container, I'll just quickly go over these slides. There are concept of application containers in UCS Director. So if you have multiple VMs and you want to work together, database, app, web, you could probably make it in a container, and maybe the users from outside just only can access the your web, and the web can talk to your app and DB, but users can go straight to that. So you have the option for that. Also, you have the options for your ACI containers, or maybe your Nexus, or any other compute and storage devices. So you could also mix container, or you could have dedicated containers for VM. These are like Nexus 1000V is another, VAX. ACI is a big thing for networking. It kind of changed the way network works. It's making it more like policy-based, profile-based, so that's easier to manage and deploy. So UCSD has got a huge integration with ACI. You understand they're both from Cisco products, so they kind of go hand in hand pretty well. So if you have a ACI deployment, UCSD probably should and must consider UCS Director, because that can relieve you a lot of manual tasks day to day. Same thing for VAX, Nexus 1000V also, there are many products in a VAX. If you have worked with them, CSR, VSG, and you could utilize UCS Director to automate the working with multiple products. Infrastructure as a service is a big kind of delivery from UCS Director. I have worked with a few customers. They would like to make a private cloud concept in their data center, and UCS Director can help. 1000 task, it was in the very early release. I think it's now 2000 plus built-in task. And every version is 6.0 right now, 6.5 coming up very soon with I think HTML5 interface for admin also. Every version it increases the number of tasks, and your kind of automation your capability increases. There are pools and groups you can utilize. We'll go into these things later. Automated bare metal provisioning is a big capability with UCS Director, and also enhanced security with TrustSec integration. Now, this is the takeaway. I would like you to go with this from these sessions. It makes it faster. It makes it really, really faster, the delivery, IT to deliver. As I mentioned before, just example of your boot from SAN, you could minimize the time which takes your weeks to maybe a few minutes. And infrastructure management, management across physical and virtual resources, that's important, and it is consistent delivery. Automated application container, there are already containers. You could make use of them and deploy your applications pretty quickly. And last but not the least, very important, your capability of UCS Director, the SDK. Public SDK, it's open API, so you could integrate with anything and everything that talks in that language. If you have developers with Java and JavaScript skills, you could integrate things which are not given to you out of the box within those 2,000 tasks. You could things way more than which is delivered by Cisco, and that is of course supported by Cisco. That's all from this session. I'm looking forward to see you in the next one. Thank you.